Smoke curled to the cracked skeletons of buildings, rising in lazy spirals that caught the crimson light of distant fires. The ground was uneven, littered with metal fragments and the scorched remains of what might have once been homes or strongholds. There was little distinction anymore. Somewhere, a faint siren pulsed like a heartbeat refusing to stop, though the war that gave it purpose had long since torn itself apart. Lyric stepped carefully over a collapsed support beam, the soles of his boots grinding against shattered glass. His rifle was slung across his back, fingers twitching too often toward the grip, a habit he hadn't broken even in moments of false peace. He moved with the caution of someone expecting ambush, but too exhausted to truly fear it. His breath clouded in front of him, not from cold, but from the chemical haze lingering in the air. Then he saw her. She stood at the center of the broken plaza, framed by collapsed towers and backlit by flame. Her armor caught the firelight like a living thing, iridescent and bruised with the deep tones of old copper. She did not move, her eyes, glowing unnaturally bright, locked onto his with the stillness of a statue, or a predator. He froze, not out of fear but recognition. "You came," she said. Her voice wasn't mechanical, though the armor might suggest otherwise. It was low, clear, and carried an edge that sounded like it had been sharpened against bone. Lyric took a step forward, slowly. "I had to," he answered, his tone carefully neutral. "You left a trail even a blind man could follow." A faint smile ghosted across her blue lips. It did not reach her eyes. "Maybe I want to be found." He studied her. She looked the same as she had on the battlefield weeks ago, immaculate and impossible. Skin like polished sapphire, laced with lines of glowing circuitry. Her hair, once tied tight for battle, now hung loose, streaked with soot and plasma burn at the ends. The armor she wore was unlike anything humanity had ever forged, fused to her, grown around her, moving with her breath as if it were a second skin. "You're injured," he said, nodding to the burn scoring her left arm. She glanced at it, indifferent. "It'll regenerate." A pause stretched between them, thick with everything they had not said. "Why are you here?" he asked. "Really?" Her eyes narrowed. "Is that what you came to ask, Commander Lyric?" "Why?" "I came for answers. And maybe to stop you." The faint wind stirred the ash around them. She turned slowly, taking in the ruins. "You think you can stop me?" she asked, not cruelly, but with a genuine curiosity, like one might wonder if a flame feared the wind. Lyric didn't answer right away. His fingers flexed at his side. "You weren't always like this," he said. "No," she agreed. "I was worse." That silenced him. He searched her face for something human, regret, grief, anything familiar. All he saw was calm. Control calm, the kind that sits on top of something much older, much more dangerous. "I've heard them call you a god," he said. "Others, a monster. And what do you call me?" He hesitated. "Beautiful." She tilted her head slightly. There was no flicker of pleasure in her reaction, only stillness. "You call me beautiful, human, but you haven't seen what I am beneath the armor." "Then show me." Something flickered in her expression. Surprise, perhaps, or pity. "You wouldn't survive it," she said. "You think this is skin? That these are eyes that weep? This," she touched her chest lightly, "this armor isn't to protect me from your bullets. It's to protect you from what's inside." She took a step toward him. He didn't retreat. "They made me to infiltrate your kind," she said, "to mimic what you love, to destroy you with your own desires." He swallowed. "But you didn't. You held back." "You don't know what I've held back," she said. Her voice was suddenly sharper. "I could have erased the city in moments. I could have torn down your command centers with a whisper, but I didn't. Why not?" She looked up at the sky, red, fractured, like it had been bruised by war. "Because I remembered something," she said almost softly. "A moment, a name, yours." Silence. He stepped closer. "You saved me," he said. 2 years ago. You don't even deny it." "I didn't save you," she replied. "I saved myself." Their eyes met again. Whatever war still burned around them faded for that instant. There was only memory, shared, bitter, fragile. "You're not the weapon they made you to be," Lyric said. She laughed then, and it was a sound like breaking glass. "No, I'm worse, because I know what I am now, and I know what they made you to be, too." He frowned. "A soldier," she said. "Disposable, obedient, blind." "I chose to be here," he replied. "Did you? Or did you just follow orders long enough to call them your choices?" He didn't answer. The question lingered, uncomfortable and true. She walked past him, slowly, her armor humming as it moved. He turned, watching her back as she surveyed the ruins. "There's nothing left," he said. "There never was," she answered. "Just illusions, flesh painted with loyalty, metal shaped into lies." He stepped beside her. "I don't believe that. That's why you're still human." She touched the edge of her gauntlet, and it hissed open slightly, exposing skin beneath. It shimmered, but not like human skin, more like the surface of a star glimpsed through ice. It pulsed faintly. "I could tear this off and show you," she said. "Everything I am, everything you can't survive knowing." He looked down at her hand. "I'm not asking to survive," he said. "I'm asking to understand." That stopped her. She turned to him again. Something broke behind her eyes, just a crack, but it was there. "I should kill you," she said. "Not because I want to, but because I'm afraid I won't." His voice was steady. "Then don't." Another beat of silence. "I'm not what you remember," she said. "That moment on the ridge, when I pulled you from the fire, that wasn't mercy. That was hesitation. And hesitation is fatal. But it wasn't." "No," she whispered. "It wasn't." The moment stretched again. Then finally she stepped back. The gauntlet hissed, shut once more. "You still see me through human eyes," she said. "That's your flaw." "And maybe your salvation," he countered. They stood at the edge of something, words, history, war. Neither willing to cross it, but neither stepping back. Behind them, the fires of the ruined world burned on, uncaring. But between them, a choice remained unmade. She turned without another word, and began to walk away. He didn't stop her. Not yet, and not forever. The nights had grown quieter since their encounter, an unnatural hush that blanketed the ruins, as if the world itself held its breath. Lyric hadn't seen her in 5 days. Not in the alleyways of the shattered city. Not in the places he knew she might seek refuge or resonance. But she was still here. He felt it in his bones, in the subtle tremors that disturbed the silence at odd hours, in the way the crows circled certain rooftops without ever landing. He had taken shelter in what used to be a museum, its walls cracked, marble statues broken, their empty eyes watching him as he moved through halls littered with the past. It suited him, a place of memory, shattered by truth, just like her. At night, he would sit by the broken window and wait. Sometimes he spoke into the dark, not expecting an answer. "You said you remembered me," he'd mutter, "but was it real, or just data left behind in whatever mind they stitched into you?" And sometimes, only sometimes, he'd think he saw movement in the far streets, a glint of gold against black, a flicker of molten light. On the 6th day, she came back. She didn't knock. The doors had long since stopped closing. He heard her before he saw her, a soft hum, like a reactor barely containing itself. Lyric turned as she stepped into the pale light cast by the fractured moon. Her eyes glowed like twin beacons, but they seemed dimmer than before. "You're still alive," she said. "You sound surprised." "I'm not. Disappointed, maybe." He smirked. Always knew how to flatter. She didn't smile. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "You said that last time." "And I meant it then, too." He stood slowly, watching her move. There was a new scar across her armor, clean, deep, almost surgical. She hadn't bothered to repair it. It gleamed in the moonlight like a wound. "What happened?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. "They found me," she said finally. "The ones who made me, or what's left of them." Lyric's breath caught. "They're still alive?" "Barely. Enough to remember what I was built for. Enough to try to fix their mistake." He took a step forward. "You..." She nodded. "They want me back." or gone. Silence stretched between them. There was nothing theatrical in her voice. No emotion, no bitterness. Just fact. "What are you going to do?" he asked. Her gaze sharpened. "I came here to ask you the same thing." He stiffened. "Me? I could run," she said. "I could disappear beyond the broken zones and let what's left of this planet eat itself alive. But I didn't. I came back. I came to you." Lyric didn't know what to say. He looked away at the broken statues, the history crumbling around them. "I don't have orders anymore," he said. "No command. No mission. I'm just a man," she finished. "And that's more dangerous than soldier, because you can choose. And you can't." "I can," she admitted. "But every choice I make cuts deeper than a blade. If I choose wrong, I become what they say I am. A monster. A god. A ghost." He stepped closer, carefully. "Then don't choose alone." She looked at him, truly looked, and for the first time he saw something behind those eyes. Something cracked, uncertain. Not fear, but proximity to it. "I don't know how," she whispered. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. The metal was cold at first, then warm beneath his touch. For a moment, she seemed almost human again, if only in shape. "They'll come for both of us," she said. "I know. They'll burn everything to get to me. Then we burn them first." She blinked, slow and deliberate. "You'd go to war again for me?" "No," he said. "With you." She stepped back slightly, breaking the contact, but not the connection. Her voice dropped, more guarded now. "There's something I need to show you. Something buried, locked away beneath the Citadel ruins. That's where they store the designs, the blueprints for all of us. Not just me. There are more. I don't know how many remain. But if those archives still exist, then the truth of what I am is in there. Everything they made me forget. Everything they feared I'd remember." Lyric's jaw tightened. "Then that's where we go. You're not ready. Try me?" She studied him for a long moment. The firelight from a distant blaze flickered across her features, softening them into something nearly human again. But the weight in her stance never lessened. "If we do this," she said, "you don't come back the same. You might not come back at all. I didn't come this far to turn around." She gave a faint nod. "Then we leave at first light." He stepped aside, motioning to a broken bench beside the wall. "You can rest here. If you do that." She didn't answer, but she moved toward it anyway, lowering herself into the shadows with mechanical grace that still somehow carried exhaustion. Lyric sat opposite her, watching the moon filter through the cracks. After a long silence, she spoke. "They call me Seraph." Lyric frowned. "A name? A classification," she said, "for something divine and deadly. I didn't choose it." He nodded slowly. "What would you choose?" She looked at him, eyes dim now. "I don't know. I never had the luxury of choosing anything before you." The moment stretched again, soft and brittle. He leaned back, staring into the broken ceiling. "We'll get to the Citadel. We'll find the truth, whatever it is. And then we find out what happens when monsters and men stop running from who they are." She didn't respond, but she didn't look away either. Outside, the wind picked up, whispering through hollow windows like distant voices stirring from sleep. The city didn't sleep. But for now, in this fractured museum of broken gods and fading warriors, there was peace. Brief, imperfect peace. Enough to face the dawn. The journey to the Citadel began before sunrise, beneath a bruised sky still heavy with smoke. Seraph moved like a specter ahead of Lyric. Each step measured, silent, the weight of her past clanking faintly with every motion of her armored form. Lyric kept close but careful distance, his rifle slung over his shoulder, his eyes scanning the horizon for signs of machines that had once ruled this fractured world. They traveled through skeletal remains of cities half swallowed by ash. Towering husks of skyscrapers leaned like tired giants, their bones blackened and hollow. Roads had buckled under centuries of decay, littered with broken drones and scorched remnants of humanity's last stand. It was a graveyard of ambition, and Seraph walked through it like one who had buried the dream herself. By midday, they reached the outer shell of the Citadel. Once a gleaming fortress of advanced science and military dominance, it now stood as a ruin wrapped in vines and silence. Its spires had collapsed inward like the ribs of fallen beasts, but deep beneath the earth, its heart still pulsed with dormant power. Seraph paused at the perimeter, staring into the crumbling abyss with a gaze Lyric couldn't read. "This is where I was born," she said, her voice quieter than usual. "Not in the sense that matters to you, but this is where they forged me, where they erased whatever I was before and made something new." Lyric stepped beside her. "Then this is where we take it back." They descended through the shattered stairwells, torchlight guiding their way. The air grew colder, thick with dust and the scent of old metal. The further they went, the more signs they saw: sealed doors torn from hinges, control panels clawed open, and strange black vines with faint bioluminescence clinging to walls like veins. "It's not just memory buried here," Seraph warned. "It's design, potential. They experimented with synthetic evolution. If the wrong things are still active—" He finished her thought. "Then we're not alone." She nodded once, then pushed forward. They reached the core chamber by nightfall. It was massive, domed and cavernous, lined with data towers stretching into shadow. Screens flickered to life at their approach, casting long reflections across the polished floor. In the center, suspended in a field of light, was a glowing orb no larger than a skull. Symbols swirled across its surface, like living circuitry. Sarah stepped forward, eyes fixed on it. "This is the seed, the archive, my beginning." As she approached, the orb reacted. Lines of light extended from its surface and tracer armor, responding to her presence like it remembered her touch. For a moment, she closed her eyes, and then the alarm screamed. Red light spilled through the room as the walls split open. From behind hidden panels emerged guardians, metal forms with no faces, limbs too long, plated in obsidian alloy. They moved like shadows made solid, eyes burning white with synthetic wrath. Lyric raised his rifle, but Seraph was already moving. Her blade snapped from her wrist with a hiss of steam, cleaving to the first construct before it could strike. Sparks showered the room as steel met steel. He fired at the next, aiming for joints, not centers. These weren't mindless bots. They adapted. Each shot bought seconds, nothing more. "We have to finish the data transfer," she shouted, tearing through another sentinel with a scream of servos. Lyric dashed toward the orb, accessing the cracked console nearby. The interface was ancient, the language fragmented. Still, he remembered enough. 60 seconds, he said. Maybe less. "Hold them," she called back. The room had become a cyclone of violence. Seraph moved like a storm, fluid, brutal, calculating. But even she was slowing. The Guardians weren't infinite, but they didn't care about death. They only obeyed. One got past her. Lyric turned just as it lunged. There was no time to aim. Seraph's body slammed into the creature, knocking it off course. It clawed into her side, tearing through armor. She grunted, staggered, but didn't fall. He fired again, point blank, until the thing stopped moving. The orb pulsed once, bright, blinding. Then it dimmed. A soft chime sounded. Transfer complete. Sarah collapsed to one knee. Lyric rushed to her, catching her before she fell fully. Her side was torn open. Beneath the armor, synthetic tissue flickered, leaking radiant fluid. "You're hurt." "I'm always hurt," she said, trying to rise. She didn't make it far. He held her, cradled her weight. "What did you see?" he asked. She looked up at him, eyes flickering, expression unreadable. "Everything. They didn't just make me. They made dozens. Hundreds. I wasn't unique. I was just the one who broke the programming first." His throat tightened. "And the others?" "Scattered. Dead. Or worse. Still dreaming inside the grid. Their minds locked in simulations. Living loops of control." He helped at her feet, and they staggered toward the exit. "We can wake them," he said. "Can't we?" She didn't answer right away. "Maybe, if we find the main node, the dreaming spire. It was relocated after the fall. I have coordinates now. But it won't be easy. Lyric smiled grimly. It never is. They emerged from the citadel into a night lit by distant lightning. The storm was building. Sarah stood tall again, though her movements were slower, more deliberate. The wound in her side had sealed, but faint light still bled to the seams of her armor. He looked at her and didn't see a weapon anymore, or a machine, or even a savior. He saw a person, broken, scarred, and dangerous, but choosing every second not to fall back into what she was made for. She turned to him, and for the first time, there was something close to hope in her eyes. "You still see beauty in me," she said softly. He met her gaze. "I see truth, and that's more terrifying than beauty ever could be." They walked into the night, two silhouettes against the ruins. The world hadn't changed. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, they had a map, a purpose, a path forward. Somewhere in the sleeping network, echoes of others like her stirred, and this time, she would be the one to wake them.